While in Minnesota, the more interesting game of the night, all of a sudden, Anthony Edwards, for some reason, is an afterthought. Minnesota has decided to go with Karl Anthony-Towns when the reputation that Karl Anthony-Towns has, no matter how revolutionary he is as an inside-outside player, is that dude soft and he's a loser. Like, that's the reputation. I'm not saying that's fair. I would not do that to him, but that's how he's looked at because of what happened in that Jimmy Butler practice.
Yes, it's all his fault. Yeah.
I'm not saying that. That's not how I look at him. I look at him and I'm like, what a mutant. I can't believe that person can do those things. But I think everyone listening to this who knows basketball says you cannot win if that is your number one player for reasons that don't have very much to do with how good he is at basketball.
You know, he and Wilt are I believe, the only players to score 60 or more in a game twice at the center position. Like, that's it. Karl Anthony-Towns and Wilt Chamberlain.
I have seen very few players ever like him. He's been like this since he was a freshman in college, and I'm floored by his skill set. But the sport requires something else, Stugotz, a suffering that Embiid has learned over the last few years that Karl Anthony-Towns hasn't yet done. But Anthony Edwards has to be the number one. In spirit on that team, he's got to be the guy who leads them.
He does. He is that guy. I feel like he is that guy. Stephen A. compared him to Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. A little early for that.
No, but Stugotz, everyone's doing that. Everyone sees how young he is, how good he is, and they see Wade and Jordan and everything else, and they're saying that's the player that's the future of the league. But yesterday he was not. Everything in Minnesota, because they were playing Charlotte, because Charlotte stinks, Charlotte's got 9 wins, because Charlotte was down 18 points in that game, was centered around let's get Karl Anthony-Towns his points. But Stugotz, they gave up the 18-point lead. This is one of the best teams in the league when Edwards leads them, not Karl Anthony-Towns.
Soft.
When Edwards leads them and Gobert is playing defense, that team can beat anybody and needs to learn the things that need to be learned about suffering and losing to go deep in the playoffs in that sport. But let's just check out some of the calls. The Hornets announcers are watching Karl Anthony-Towns do this and listen to what it is that they're describing.
38? No!
That's how you call it.
That's
man.
Karl Anthony-Towns from 30 feet. I want to play that again just so that is exactly how you call all of that. Play that again, please.
No!
Let's play the second Hornets call of Karl Anthony-Towns going crazy.
He's never made a free throw as a pro, but he has now! I love leaking!
That's the Hornets winning.
I love leaking.
That's the Hornets winning that game, Stugotz. But let me give you some of the stats when I tell you that Karl Anthony-Towns goes for 62. But was 2 for 10 in the fourth quarter. But was benched with 3 minutes left in a tie game because they're like, okay, enough of this. But did all the things wrong at the end of the game to lose the game. And Chris Finch, the coach of the Timberwolves, who, again, they're great. Chris Finch was pissed off after that game. Listen to this.
It was an absolute disgusting performance of defense and immature basketball all the way through the game. So it really didn't slip away. It had been there from the jump. So this is what happens when you have this type of approach.
It's kind of stunning to hear.
Especially with the graphic beside it of 62 points.
You don't usually lose the games when your guy has 62. In fact, Stugotz is going to dress as Larry Bird because Larry Bird once won one of those games when Michael Jordan scored 63, and afterward Larry Bird called Michael Jordan God.
And he was right. But Finch is upset about the defense. They gave up 128 to Charlotte. That's an embarrassment. They're the 1 seed in the West. I mean,
Charlotte has had, before that game, 9 wins on the season. That game was in Minnesota. Let's listen to Anthony Edwards. What was his stat line, Stugotz? Because Anthony Edwards didn't do much in the game. It was all about Karl Anthony-Towns.
He had 9 points on 3 of 11 shooting.
And that's why they lose to Charlotte. And let's listen to Anthony Edwards after the game.
Up like 20 in the fourth, and they just walked us down.
Just in terms of the focus that you guys had, did you see that kind of
We
go
weren't focused.
in terms of you didn't focus?
We wasn't focused from the jump at all. We was never focused. Cat just had a great night. We wasn't focused though.
he obviously started on fire. Did you think that the focus turned from winning the game to just trying to get him?
Yeah, for sure. I think, once he hit his first 6-7 shots, I think everybody was pretty much just trying to see him go get 100 points. I knew I was. So.
This team has been so mature for most of the year and handled these games. Yeah. Why do you think that was the case?
I mean, he got hot. So I think all of us, 15 of us in here, 14 of us wanted to see him get 80 or whatever it was. So I think we're going to learn from it, though.
Was that hard for you to go from not shooting at all?
Hell yeah. I'm mad. I'm pissed, but I mean, it's all good. He career high. Congratulations to Big Cat. He definitely went for 60 for sure. So it's one of a kind performance. So appreciate him for giving me that.
A-Rod will figure it out.
We lost because he got hot.
That's going to be interesting to watch. Those are young players, and that needs to be Anthony Edwards' team. And maybe Karl Anthony-Towns knows it, but not when he's going 10 for 15 from 3, does it?